Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive right here on the Book Summary Podcast. This time we're going to be talking about Let That Sht Go, which is a book all about finding a path to peace and happiness by letting go of all the junk that weighs us down. So if you're always battling that inner critic or just feeling super overwhelmed by, all the chaos of life, stick around because this deep dive's for you. And while you're here, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future deep dives just like this one.
This book is really refreshing because it doesn't sugarcoat things at all. It just acknowledges that life is messy and challenging. And it doesn't try to pretend that everything will be sunshine and rainbows once you've mastered the art of letting go.
Yeah, it definitely feels really real and relatable, which I appreciate a lot. And the book starts off, diving right into this idea of the monkey mind. I think we all know what that is. It's that constant chatter going on in our heads all the time, jumping from one thought to the next, usually focusing on worries or doubts or just things we can't control. Ugh, it's exhausting.
The book uses this great analogy of a monkey just swinging from branch to branch, never settling down in any one place. And that's our minds a lot of the time, constantly moving, rarely finding stillness. And it's kind of fascinating how many thoughts we have every single day.
Yeah. Okay, get ready for this. The book says that the average person has something like 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts per day. That's a lot. No wonder we feel overwhelmed. It's like our brains are on a marathon all the time, never stopping.
And the thing is, so many of these thoughts are the same ones over and over again. And a lot of times they're not even helpful. We get stuck in these negative thought loops, just replaying past regrets or worrying about stuff that hasn't even happened yet.
Yeah, totally. It's like we're trapped in our own heads. So how does Let That Sht Go help us break free from all of that?
Well, the book introduces this concept of cultivating awareness, basically becoming more aware of our thoughts when they pop up, instead of getting swept away by them. It's all about developing what the book calls the observing mind.
I'm really interested in that, this observing mind thing. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Okay, so it's kind of like taking a step back from your thoughts and just watching them without judging them. Like, when you watch clouds moving across the sky, you just notice them. You don't try to control them or anything. You just let them drift by.
Yeah, I get that. But how do we actually do that? I mean, it's one thing to understand it.
Yeah.
But how do we train our minds to actually do it?
Okay, so the book suggests something kind of funny. Narrate your actions out loud when you're doing normal, everyday things. So if you're brushing your teeth, you'd say, I'm picking up my toothbrush, I'm squeezing the toothpaste, I'm brushing my front teeth, stuff like that.
Okay, I'll admit that sounds a little strange, but I guess it would make you pay attention.
Exactly. It brings your attention to the present moment, and it helps you disconnect from all that mental chatter. And, maybe you don't need to narrate your whole day, but it's a cool way to practice being more mindful in everyday life.
So it's about bringing that observing mind, even to the littlest things we do. And the book really emphasizes that, true happiness isn't about what we achieve or the things we own. It's more about finding peace in the present moment. I know that can sound kind of cliche, but I think it makes a lot of sense.
Totally agree. We fall into this trap of thinking, if I only got that promotion, or if I just had that new car, or if I just had the perfect relationship, then I would be happy. But the book says that happiness comes from within. It's all about being content with what we already have right here, right now.
And there's actual science behind this too. The book talks about neuroplasticity, which is how our brains change and adapt based on our experiences.
Yeah, that's a really cool part. Studies have actually shown that practicing mindfulness and focusing on the present moment can change the physical structure of our brains. It's like we're rewiring our brains to create more happiness and peace.
That's pretty amazing. So just by focusing on the now, we're not only feeling better emotionally, we're changing our brains for the better. I think that's a powerful takeaway for everyone listening. And speaking of powerful takeaways, if you're digging this deep dive, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to Book Summary Podcast for more insights just like these.
Now the book encourages us to embrace the present moment, but it also knows that we all have regrets about the past and anxieties about the future. So it offers some practical tips for dealing with those too.
Right. It's not about pretending those feelings don't exist. It's more about learning to handle them in a healthier way. And one of the simplest techniques it talks about is deep breathing.
Ah, yes. Simple, yet so powerful. The book highlights how even taking a few deep breaths can calm down your nervous system, reduce stress hormones, and create a sense of ease and clarity.
And it's something we can do anywhere, anytime. And it's totally free.
Exactly. The book actually lays out a super simple deep breathing technique that you can try right now.
Okay, let's do it. What do I do?
So first, find a comfy position, either sitting or lying down. You can close your eyes if you want. Then put one hand on your chest and the other on your belly.
Okay, got it. Both hands are in place. What's next?
Now take a deep breath in through your nose and feel your belly expand as your lungs fill up with air. Hold that breath for a sec, then exhale slowly through your mouth and feel your belly contract as you let the breath go.
Okay. Wow. I already feel calmer. That's crazy.
See?
Yeah.
Simple, but it works. And the book suggests making deep breathing a regular thing throughout your day, especially when you're feeling stressed or overwhelmed.
That's a great idea. Maybe we can even set reminders on our phones to take a few deep breaths every hour, like a little mini meditation break.
Exactly. And speaking of mindfulness, the book also talks about mindful eating, which can be a game changer if you're someone who tends to eat on autopilot.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely guilty of scrolling on my phone while I scarf down lunch.
Mhm.
So what is mindful eating exactly?
So it's basically bringing that same observing mind to mealtime. Instead of just shoving food in your mouth without thinking, you slow down, savor each bite, and really pay attention to the taste and texture and smell of what you're eating.
So it's all about being present with your food.
Yes. And the book has this step-by-step guide for practicing mindful eating, using something as basic as a piece of chocolate.
Oh, that I can get behind. Walk me through it.
Okay, so picture you have a piece of chocolate. Before you even take a bite, just look at it. Notice its shape, its color, its texture, maybe even smell it to really appreciate its aroma.
I'm already feeling more present with this imaginary chocolate.
Now take a small bite, and as you chew, really focus on what you're feeling in your mouth. How does the chocolate feel on your tongue? What flavors are you picking up? How does it melt?
Wow. I can see how slowing down and savoring each bite would make eating so much more enjoyable.
And that's a cool thing about mindful eating. It not only makes food more enjoyable, but it also helps you tune in to your body's signals of hunger and fullness, which can be super helpful if you tend to overeat.
It sounds like such a simple shift in how we think about food, but it can make a big difference.
It really can. And the book makes it clear that mindful eating isn't about depriving yourself or restricting what you eat. It's simply about being aware and intentional about your meals, no matter what you're eating.
I love that. It's about enjoying and appreciating the simple act of nourishing your body. Now, another important technique that the book explores is active listening, which, let's be real, is something we could probably all get better at. So what does Let That Sht Go have to say about this?
Well, it says that really listening goes beyond just hearing the words someone's saying. It's about being totally present, paying attention to their body language, and making an effort to see things from their point of view, even if you don't agree with them.
So it's about quieting that monkey mind of ours and really tuning into the other person.
Exactly. And the book says that active listening isn't about thinking of what you're going to say next while the other person is still talking. It's about giving them your full attention and making them feel heard and understood.
That's a powerful reminder. Especially in today's world where there are so many distractions, it's easy to just zone out and not really listen.
One of the authors, Nina, actually shares a personal story in the book about how she learned the importance of active listening. After she experienced a really tough loss, she realized that truly listening to her friends and family, without judging or interrupting, helped her connect with them on a deeper level and gave her a sense of comfort when she needed it most.
That's a beautiful reminder that sometimes the best thing we can do for someone is just listen to them, really listen. And Let That Sht Go also dives into the importance of self-love, which is so essential for well-being.
Absolutely. The book says that self-love isn't about being arrogant or vain. It's about knowing that you're worthy and treating yourself with kindness and compassion, even when you mess up.
And it's especially important to fight that negative self-talk
Right.
that can really sabotage us. I remember this idea of positive Peggy replacement thoughts from the book. Can you remind me about that?
Oh yeah, positive Peggy. So the book tells us to figure out our common negative thought patterns and then come up with positive affirmations to counter them. Like, for example, if you always catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, you could create a positive Peggy thought like, I am capable and I deserve love and happiness.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk every time that inner critic starts to get loud.
That's a great way to put it. And the book says this takes practice. It's about consistently choosing those positive and empowering thoughts instead of letting the negative ones take over.
And you know, the book also reminds us that everyone sees us through their own lens, shaped by their experiences and beliefs.
Right. It challenges this idea that there's only one right way to see ourselves. There's this cool exercise in the book where it asks you to imagine you're at a dinner table with your whole family and think about how each person views you differently.
Oh, I like that. It really shows how subjective perception is and how we can't control how other people see us.
And the book says that the only lens that really matters is your own.
I think that's a really freeing idea. It takes away the pressure of trying to please everyone and lets us focus on just being ourselves. Which brings us to another key theme in Let That Sht Go, the importance of embracing our true selves.
Absolutely. The book is all about celebrating the fact that we're all unique and that there's power in owning our individuality, our quirks, and everything.
And it uses the awesome example of Ellen DeGeneres coming out on national TV. Talk about a courageous act of being true to yourself.
That was a major moment. It showed how living authentically might not always be easy, but it can lead to greater happiness and a sense of purpose.
I think we'll stop here. Part 1 of our deep dive. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Book Summary Podcast. For more in-depth book discussions like this one, we'll be back soon with Part 2, where we'll dive into even more awesome concepts from Let That Sht Go, including forgiveness, navigating the digital age, and the power of meditation. See you soon.
Welcome back, everybody, for part 2 of our deep dive into Let That Sht Go. So last time we were talking about embracing our true selves, and that actually leads us perfectly into the book's discussion of forgiveness.
Yeah, forgiveness is such a powerful thing, and this book really goes deep into what it truly means to forgive, both ourselves and others.
Totally. And it makes it clear that forgiveness isn't about saying what happened was okay or pretending that nothing bad happened. It's more about letting go of the anger and resentment that we're holding on to.
It's like realizing that holding on to those negative emotions is actually hurting us more than the person we're mad at.
Exactly. The book uses this awesome analogy. It says that anger is like holding on to a ball of fire. We're the ones getting burned. Forgiveness is like letting go of that ball of fire and giving ourselves a chance to heal.
I love that analogy. And the book acknowledges that forgiveness isn't always easy, especially when we've been really hurt. It takes time and effort.
One of the authors, Nina, actually shares a very personal story in the book about forgiving her father after 20 years. She had all this anger and resentment towards him, but she eventually realized that forgiveness wasn't about condoning his actions. It was about freeing herself from the burden of all those negative emotions.
Wow, that's powerful. It shows how forgiveness is ultimately about finding peace within ourselves. And the book also talks about the importance of forgiving ourselves too.
Oh, absolutely. We can be so hard on ourselves, holding on to guilt and shame for way too long.
The book encourages us to be kind to ourselves and realize that we're human. We all make mistakes.
It's about letting go of the need to be perfect
Mhm.
and accepting ourselves with all our flaws and imperfections.
And recognizing that we're always growing and changing. The person we were yesterday isn't necessarily who we are today, and that's okay.
It really is.
You know, it's interesting how the book connects this idea of self-forgiveness to the challenges of living in the digital age.
Oh yeah, for sure. It talks about social media hangovers and how important it is to balance our online lives with real-life connections.
Tell me about it. I think we've all had that feeling of being totally drained and exhausted after spending way too much time on social media, like you close Instagram feeling worse than when you opened it.
Exactly. And it's not just social media, it's the constant flood of information and stimulation that comes with being connected all the time. The book encourages us to be mindful of how technology affects our mood and energy. Like, are we feeling jealous or inadequate after scrolling through social media? Are we checking our phones even when we're hanging out with people we care about? It's all about noticing those patterns and setting boundaries to protect our mental and emotional well-being.
That's so important. It's easy to get sucked into the digital world and forget to prioritize our own well-being.
And the book offers some practical tips for setting those boundaries, like turning off notifications, creating tech-free zones in our homes, or scheduling specific times to check email and social media.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It also tells this funny story about the Toronto baby boom. After a huge ice storm knocked out power across the city.
Oh yeah, I remember that story.
It's this lighthearted way of showing how disconnecting, even if it's unintentional, can lead to some pretty positive outcomes.
Maybe a forced digital detox every now and then isn't such a bad thing.
I think you're right. Stepping away from our screens can open up space for deeper connections, new experiences, and who knows, maybe even a little romance.
Okay, before we move on to meditation, which I'm really excited to talk about, I want to go back to something we touched on earlier about embracing our authentic selves, not just in our personal lives,
Yeah.
but also in our work.
Yes. The book encourages us to find work that aligns with our values and interests, even if it means taking risks or stepping outside our comfort zones.
It's about finding our passions and figuring out how to bring them into our work lives.
And the book reminds us that work is just one part of life. It shouldn't come at the expense of our well-being or our relationships.
It's all about finding that balance between pursuing our professional goals and prioritizing our personal lives, which means setting boundaries, saying no to things that drain our energy, and making time for things that bring us joy. And speaking of joy, the book talks about this concept of JOMO, the joy of missing out. I think we're all familiar with FOMO, the fear of missing out. But JOMO is such a refreshing perspective.
It really is. JOMO is about recognizing that we don't have to say yes to everything. And sometimes the most fulfilling experiences come from stepping away from the hustle and bustle and creating space for quiet and reflection.
It's like giving ourselves permission to say no to things that don't really matter to us or bring us joy, even if everyone else seems to be doing them.
The book has this great example of a gymnast who was super competitive, and she learned the value of JOMO through her sport. She realized that the sacrifices she made to train and compete were worth it, even though she didn't end up becoming a professional gymnast.
It's a good reminder that the lessons we learn from pursuing our passions can benefit us in other areas of our lives, even if things don't go exactly as planned.
And speaking of lessons learned, Let That Sht Go also talks about the importance of learning from our mistakes and setbacks.
Yeah, it's about seeing challenges as opportunities to grow.
It encourages us to adopt a growth mindset, which means believing that we can always learn and improve instead of getting stuck in a fixed mindset where we see setbacks as personal failures.
And it reminds us that even the most successful people have faced failures and setbacks along the way.
But it's all about learning from those experiences, adapting and keeping moving forward.
Okay, so before we wrap up part 2, I want to touch on one more powerful idea from the book, the idea of cultivating a sense of oneness.
Oh, yes, that's a big one. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected. We're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
It's about shifting our focus away from the things that divide us and towards the things that unite us.
At the end of the day, we all share the same basic human needs and desires, no matter where we come from, what we believe, or what we've been through.
And it's about showing compassion and understanding, not just to others, but to ourselves as well.
We're all in this together.
I love that. And I think that's the perfect segue into the final part of our deep dive, where we'll explore the transformative power of meditation, as outlined in Let That Sht Go. If you're enjoying this deep dive so far, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for part 3. We'll be right back.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Let That Sht Go. We've talked about a lot of cool stuff, from the monkey mind and mindful eating, to the power of forgiveness and embracing our true selves. And now we're going to explore one of the most powerful practices the book recommends, meditation.
Ooh, I've been looking forward to this. I've always been curious about meditation, but I'll be honest, I've never really been able to make it a regular habit. I'm hoping this conversation will give me the push I need to actually stick with it.
Well, I think this book does a great job of making meditation feel approachable. It's not about emptying your mind or trying to reach some super blissful state. It's more about creating a space to just observe your thoughts and emotions without judging them.
Okay, that already makes it feel less intimidating. I always thought meditation was about silencing your thoughts completely, which honestly sounds impossible.
Right. But the book says it's totally normal for thoughts to come up during meditation. In fact, it's practically guaranteed. The key is to just notice those thoughts without getting carried away by them.
So it's more about being aware of our thoughts than trying to control them. I like that.
And the book makes it clear that meditation is a practice. It's not a destination. It's not about reaching some perfect state of Zen. It's more about showing up consistently, even if it's just for a few minutes a day, and just being present with whatever comes up.
Yeah. It's more about the journey than the destination.
Exactly. And the book compares meditation to working out. Just like you go to the gym to strengthen your body, you meditate to strengthen your mind, to improve your focus, your resilience, your ability to handle your emotions. And just like with physical exercise, consistency is super important.
That makes so much sense. I like the idea of thinking about meditation as a workout for your mind.
And the really cool thing is, the benefits of meditation extend beyond the time you spend meditating.
So it affects other areas of our lives too.
Yeah, exactly. The book talks about how research shows that meditating regularly can help reduce stress, improve focus and concentration, help you manage your emotions better, boost creativity, and even strengthen your immune system.
Wow, that's a lot of benefits.
It really is. But as we were saying earlier, it can be hard to make meditation a regular thing. And the
Yeah.
book gets that. It says that meditation isn't always easy or blissful. There will be times when your mind is racing, or you feel restless or bored, or you just don't feel like
Mm.
doing it.
Yeah, I've definitely been there. So what do you do when you hit those rough patches?
The book says to approach those difficult moments with curiosity and without judging yourself. It's all about recognizing that those feelings are just part of the experience. They come and go like waves in the ocean. And it's important not to get swept away by them.
It's about riding the waves, not resisting them.
That's a great way to put it. And the book offers some tips for getting started with meditation. First, find a quiet, comfy spot where you can sit or lie down without being disturbed.
It also talks about the importance of good posture, like sitting with a straight spine to keep your energy flowing and prevent you from falling asleep.
Haha, yes, that's important. And the book suggests starting with short sessions, maybe just 5 or 10 minutes, and gradually making them longer as you get more comfortable. It's better to start small and build up than to overwhelm yourself with hour-long sessions right away.
That makes sense.
The book also talks about different types of meditation, like guided meditations where you listen to someone lead you through a practice, which can be helpful if you're just starting out.
I've tried a few of those. I like them.
Yeah, they can be really helpful. And there are also mindfulness meditations, where you focus on the present moment, maybe by paying attention to your breath, or the sensations in your body, or the sounds around you.
So it's like choosing something specific to focus on, to keep your mind from wandering too much.
Yeah, exactly. And then there are loving kindness meditations, where you focus on cultivating feelings of love and compassion for yourself and others.
I've heard those can be really powerful for learning to accept yourself and for strengthening your relationships.
They can be amazing. And Let That Sht Go encourages you to try out different types of meditation to see what works best for you.
So it's about finding a practice you enjoy and that you find beneficial.
Exactly. There's no right or wrong way to meditate. And the book reminds us that meditation is a journey, not a destination. Some days your mind will be calm and focused. Other days it will be all over the place. That's just part of it. The important thing is to just keep showing up, even when it's hard, and trust that it will get easier over time.
It's about consistency, not perfection.
You got it. And the book also points out that the real magic of meditation often happens outside of your formal practice, the skills you develop through meditation, like mindfulness, self-awareness, emotional regulation, and compassion, start to show up in your everyday life. You become more present in your interactions, more patient with challenges, and more grateful for the little things.
It becomes a way of life.
I like that. A way of life. And that brings us to the end of our deep dive into Let That Sht Go.
Wow, that was great. I feel like I have a much better understanding of the book now,
Yeah.
and I'm definitely feeling inspired to finally give meditation a real shot.
That's awesome to hear. Just remember, it's all about progress, not perfection. Start small, be kind to yourself, and trust the process.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into Let That Sht Go. We hope you found it helpful. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And subscribe to Book Summary Podcast for more deep dives into awesome books. Until next time, happy reading.